His Highness Sheikh Saud bin Saqr Al Qasimi, Supreme Council member of the UAE and the ruler of Ras Al Khaimah, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. With splendid timing, just a few days before the start of COP28, news has reached us of sightings of the blue whale in the waters of the Indian Ocean archipelago of the Seychelles. After decades in the past century of mass slaughter by foreign fleets of these majestic creatures, no one seriously expected to witness their presence in this region again. But we have been blessed by their return. And what an immense boost this is for our historic gathering in Dubai. It tells us two things. One is that it gives us further evidence of the remarkable resilience of nature. We must never write off any of our planet species. The other is the important lesson that recovery of all marine species can flourish in protected areas of the ocean. Although there are also other factors at work in this case, I am proud to have been a long-time advocate of marine protected areas. This is something I was able to introduce during my time as president, namely the idea that some areas should be reserved to allow nature to do its work without the impact of human activities. The evidence of how effective this can be is impressive, and I am honored to have worked with ocean champions who have this at the top of their own agendas. Sylvia Earle, for instance, who we all know as her deepness, has devoted her life to raising awareness about the threats that overfishing and pollution pose to the world's ocean. I also pay tribute to Dr. Henrik Saller, who has first-hand experience as a National Geographic Explorer in residence and founder of Pristine Seas, of the benefits that result from protected areas, and he is on a mission to see no less than 30% of the world's ocean designated in this way. Sylvia Earle and Henrik Saller have both dedicated their life to showing how recovery of fish and other marine life bounces back within these areas, and how this healthier situation spreads to adjoining areas too. Delegates, when we read about these productive outcomes, I am inspired by the message of hope. Hope that they bring. Yes, the deterioration of the ocean is in many ways dire. One can never understate this reality. But is there not a danger that we can allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by woeful news? Problems, it is said, create opportunities, so long as we think creatively. I am also convinced that no matter how bad things are in some respects, there are good people who are devoting their lives to finding solutions. These are not just household names, but also community groups working tirelessly for no other reason than love of their own particular stretch of the ocean. I think, for instance, of how local people are reviving the coconut industry along the Kenyan coastline by planting more trees, combined with central processing and marketing, or voluntary groups keeping watch night and day on turtle breeding grounds to ensure a healthy production rate. Likewise, we should acknowledge the dedication of young scientists and entrepreneurs who are responsible for business startups. One initiative I have come across depends on an understanding of genetics in the search for ways to grow crops in areas prone to saltwater flooding. Or, in another case, inventive minds who turn discarded fishing nets into useful products. Although the record of countries is patchy, there are some, notably the United Arab Emirates, which are achieving great things in difficult circumstances. It is fitting that this event is being held here, and I hope that delegates will be able to view impressive examples of mangrove restoration and schemes for renewable sources of energy. It is these kinds of initiatives that I highlight in my new book on the subject, which has been launched ahead of COP28. Revisiting the Ocean, Living the Blue Economy. 7 years ago, I wrote my first book on the subject. And in this new volume, my aim is to show how progress is making a difference. As a realist, I recognize that there is still a long way to go, and I am doubtful if the UN's Sustainable Development Goal for the ocean will be met in 2030. But as an optimist, I can see good things as well as bad, and it is on these that I shine the spotlight. Let me now give one important example of what is undoubtedly good. We all know that the world's population continues to grow. In my own lifetime, it has increased more than fourfold to a present total close to 8 billion. 2 countries alone account for half of this number. This sharp rise has many implications, not least of all the question of food security. The kind of well-stocked refrigerator that much of the world has got used to might soon be a thing of the past. In this kind of situation, we have to ask whether the ocean can provide more of our food. Overfishing is already a problem, although aquaculture will play its own important part in keeping fish on the menu. Rising sea levels encroach on coastal farmland, and we still have some way to go to grow crops successfully where there is a high salt content. Floating farms work in urban locations close to markets where they are being tried, but still on a very limited scale. Of all the options, the one that most impresses me is the enormous potential for seaweed as a versatile and large-scale source of food. I was converted to the cause when I heard a leading seaweed exponent, Vincent Dumézil, speak at a conference in London. A respected scientist, he explained why we should start to think of the plant not as a weed, but as a vital source of food. Clusters are now often referred to as sea forests. Asian countries have for long recognized its value, but elsewhere it has largely been ignored. This may now start to change. Like all true innovators, Dumézil is a visionary, painting a vivid picture of the remarkable benefits that seaweed can offer. He says, if you think seaweed is not good, just try to eat a raw potato. If you cook it, then it's good. Looking at seaweed as a food source for humans is just scratching the surface. There are many other potential uses for seaweed. Such is the potential for radical change that de Michel likens it to a revolution. So much so that, supported by Lloyd's Register Foundation, he has joined others to produce no less than a seaweed manifesto. Revolutions have taken their place as momentous points of change in history. They have variously been proclaimed under the banner of grand concepts like freedom and democracy, independence and sovereignty. Leaders have been overthrown and new political systems ushered in. But never, never before have revolutionaries manned the barricades for seaweed. Yet, this might be the most important revolution of all, yielding a sustainable supply of food for the world's anticipated 10 billion or more people. Delegates, I have offered just a few examples of new ways to restore our shared ocean to a more sustainable state. If we get it right, the ocean will repay our efforts many times over. Of course, in this short presentation, I can barely give more than an indication of what is being done and what is possible. In my book, I extend the list on many fronts. For instance, the shipping industry is hard at work with converting fuel sources to more renewable forms of energy, in its ports as well as at sea. Novel designs are making use of wind once again, not necessarily as the sole means of power, but as supplement when conditions are right. Marine protected areas offer a universal way to preserve and replenish fish stocks. New technologies are being used to monitor the presence of fishing boats within jurisdictions where they should not be, thus helping to reduce the incidence of illegal fishing. Coastal and marine tourism presents one of the biggest challenges to the quality of coastlines and the sea, and the new charging systems are being applied in an effort to regulate numbers in vulnerable locations. Simply to use the label sustainable tourism is not enough. There is growing recognition that waste which is discarded in the sea is an unacceptable practice that requires a holistic solution. Like, for example, the circular economy, as well as a need for funds to be transferred from north to south to enable new infrastructure to deal with waste more effectively. As well as for the aesthetic value, numerous local schemes to restore mangrove forests and seagrass meadows create valuable carbon capture sinks, thus reducing the impact of greenhouse gases. NGOs are active everywhere in seeking to protect marine life, whether the iconic blue whale or the unobtrusive dugong. The work of these enthusiasts is absolutely invaluable. Progressive projects like the Blue Wall in the Southwest Indian Ocean call for regional cooperation as well as national support. At an international level, the United Nations Treaty for Biodiversity, agreed in March this year, marks a major breakthrough as one looks towards the long-awaited regulation of the high seas. The United Arab Emirates, under the visionary leadership of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, have an unparalleled record in getting things done and are taking actionable steps to switch to renewable energy, matched by a wholesale conversion to a sustainable economy. Solar farms can be seen across the 7 Emirates, and together with other renewable sources of energy like wind, the nation is working towards 50% renewable energy by 2050. But this is not enough for the UAE. They also focus on nature-based solutions to contribute towards achieving net zero and strengthening efforts to protect ecosystems and biodiversity. Dear friends, these are grounds for hope as well as despair, and we must all ensure that it is hope that wins the day. In fact, we cannot afford any other outcome. We have inherited a blue planet. It is up to us to keep it so, and we can all play a part in making this happen. Words alone are not enough. This is why I have concentrated on people who are taking a lead in making a difference. We should take heart from what we are doing, and we should ourselves be willing to play our own various parts. If we are to look forward to a better world, we must all be ocean champions. I thank you.